My husband, Xiaoqing, was a highly gifted flying sword cultivator. But me, I was just an ordinary mortal. To keep up with him, I cultivated desperately and painstakingly, but he was always so cold. He told me, "You don't have innate talent. Stop wasting your effort for nothing." Later, he ascended to the god realm, and I got married again. Right on the day of our grand wedding, he descended to the mortal world and pressed his sword against my new husband's neck. He asked, "Do you really want to marry this kind of trash?" I shielded the blade, grabbed my ordinary mortal husband's hand, looked straight at Xiaoqing, and said, "Yes, because he will never hate me for being clumsy and powerless." When he asked, "Just because of that one little thing?" I nodded seriously. "Just because of that." During the 5 years since I picked Xiaoqing up, I thought about making him my husband every single day. He practiced the way of the sword. I farmed. He walked the path of cultivation. I earned money. I just hoped that one day I could move his heart. But Xiaoqing didn't love me. He only had eyes for his junior martial sister, Shiyu. Junior sister Shiyu was not only talented, but also beautiful. Xiaoqing only had to teach a sword spell once, and she'd grasp it immediately. As for me, even though I secretly practiced it behind their backs no less than 10 times, I only managed to throw a chicken leg slightly further away. Even then, Xiaoqing and Shiyu caught me doing it. Shiyu covered her mouth and laughed until she cried. Xiaoqing hated stupid people the most. He frowned and said, "Li Shenju, you don't have innate talent. Don't waste your effort for nothing." "Senior brother," Shiyu chimed in. "The lifespan of mortals is so short. A lifetime is just a blink of an eye. Living as husband and wife for one lifetime means nothing to gods. It won't delay our mission to seal the Taotie monster." At that moment, Xiaoqing's face fell quite a bit. He was terrified that I would ask him to stay by my side for a lifetime. Right then, his robes were fluttering in the wind, looking so noble and icy cold. He was completely different from the dying, pitiful man from 5 years ago. Back then, I was the one who had to feed him porridge, one spoonful at a time. I guess God Xiao could never become Li Shenju's husband anyway. If that's the case, I won't bother him anymore. I thought for a moment and picked up my little dog, Da Huang. "If you can cure Da Huang's illness, you don't owe me anything anymore," I told him. Xiaoqing was stunned, but he quickly realized this was a fair trade. He simply raised his hand, and Da Huang, who hadn't been able to eat for 3 days, scrambled up and ran to eat the leftovers in his bowl. "Senior brother, your past worldly ties are now severed. Let's go back and report," Shiyu said. Xiaoqing gave me one last look with complicated eyes. As the gods departed, the clouds in the sky instantly cleared away. "Shenju, you're so stupid! You wasted a god's promise just to save a dog," Auntie Zhao scolded. "Auntie Zhao, do me a favor," I said. "What is it, girl?" she asked. "Please find me a man. He has to be decent-looking, steady, and someone who won't abandon his wife even if he becomes successful." "Oh my, how would I dare help you with that? That god will strike me dead with lightning," she replied. I sighed, actually regretting saving Da Huang just a little bit. If I had known, I would have just asked God Qing to find me a husband. "Li Shenju, do you want a husband or not? He's free. You won't have to pay a single penny." When I asked how anything free could be good, she said, "He's a well-known, handsome bachelor from the neighboring villages, girl. He can't really do heavy labor, but it's like he was born to be a live-in son-in-law." As I muttered, "How could a good man be like that?" I opened the door and saw the man's face. The words of rejection I had prepared got completely stuck in my throat. The man standing in front of me had the gentle and refined looks of an educated young master. When he looked up and saw me, even his ears turned red. Because of his clean and handsome appearance, I found myself staring at him without even blinking. Shen Tong Wen. No wife, no father, no mother, no debt, 25 years old, knows a bit of reading and writing. Li Shenju. No father, no mother, no debt. My ex-husband became a god and ran away, and he's never coming back. I can raise pigs and farm. You can stay home, clean, sew clothes, and read. Let's live a good life together, okay?" I asked. He simply answered, "Yes." "Ha ha ha! Then it's a done deal, Auntie Zhao." Here's your matchmaker fee, I offered, but she said, no need, no need. I was so confused. Why would Auntie Zhao, who normally loves money so much, refuse it? But she had already run away in a hurry. I looked at Shen Tongwen, and his slender waist was looking better and better to me. Why shouldn't he be better than Xiaoqing? I nodded in satisfaction. Right at that moment, Shen Tongwen's stomach growled on cue. His face turned bright red all over again. I'll go cook you a bowl of dough drop soup. I'll add 2 eggs for you, I told him. Shen Tongwen ate so politely and elegantly. He ate it so clean that the bowl didn't even need washing. When he noticed me watching him, he awkwardly wiped the corners of his mouth. This man looked good even when he was wiping his mouth, totally unlike Xiaoqing and Shi Yu. Because Xiaoqing practiced fasting, he always said the food I cooked smelled bad. And Shi Yu was so afraid of getting fat that she was a picky eater and only ate a few vegetables. That night, feeling happy in my heart, I lay on my bed and started planning how we would spend our days moving forward. The fact that Shen Tongwen could read and write was seriously too good. I wouldn't have to keep drawing pictures to remember my bookkeeping anymore. But what if he didn't want to help me with the accounts? Xiaoqing understood those accounts too, but he was never willing to help me at all. 3 years ago, I sold 2 chickens. On the way back, I saw a beggar covered in sores lying there begging for food. I felt so sorry for him that I gave him half the money I made from selling the chickens. When Xiaoqing saw that, he sneered and mocked me. That's a scammer! Look at the sores on his body. They're painted on with dye. If it rains, they'll wash right off. Looking at the beggar's back as he limped away, I heaved a long sigh of relief. Oh, thank goodness. It's a good thing he's not actually sick, otherwise he would be in so much pain. Xiaoqing went quiet for a moment before sarcastically calling me. Naive, stupid, dumb, idiotic. He used to say these things to me all the time, so I wasn't really surprised anymore. Oh well, let it go. He's not here anymore anyway, so I won't blame him. While I was still figuring out how to persuade Shen Tongwen next door to help me with the accounts, a strong gust of wind suddenly blew the door open. Good heavens! A dark shadow, fast as a cat, rushed inside. Before I even had time to turn around, a warm, large body suddenly pressed against my back, and a satisfied sigh murmured into my ear. So fragrant! Why do you smell so good? Shinju! Master Xiao ascended and became a god. You must be bored. I'm not bored. I have donghua, and there are chickens, ducks, and geese in the backyard. It's very lively. What about you? Are you cold? I asked back. He leaned against the door, staring as I neatly smoothed out his clothes. Because I was so focused, I didn't notice that Shen Tongwen's shadow cast on the wall looked like a giant beast about to swallow me whole. Shen Tongwen tilted his head, looked at me, and smiled gently. Thinking about how he came here all alone without even a change of clothes, I said, tomorrow, I'll go to the market and sell some eggs. Then I'll buy some fabric to sew you 2 nice sets of clothes. It's getting cold now, so you need winter clothes first. And we'll also have to buy some red fabric for our wedding. After his clothes were neatly arranged, Shen Tongwen became polite and well-behaved all over again. Shenju, I'm hungry. At that time, I happened to have some dough prepared in the kitchen for making flatbreads, so I took the dough and lit the stove. I mixed some fine sugar into the dough and fried the yellowish dough in hot oil until both sides turned golden brown and crispy. Shen Tongwen rested his chin on his hand and stared at me unblinkingly. Wiping the sweat from my forehead, I told him, the kitchen is dirty. Why don't you wait outside? But he replied, I'll stay here with you. The candlelight reflected in Shen Tongwen's eyes. When he caught the sweet smell of the fried bread, his eyes flashed with a mysterious light. Careful, it's hot. The outside is just burnt. It's not dirty, I said. I had been worried he'd be like Xiaoqing, that if he saw the burnt bread in my hand, he'd frown and call it dirty. How could it be dirty? Shen Tongwen said, taking a bite of the sugar-filled bread and smiling until his eyes completely closed. Only then did it instantly hit me what Shen Tongwen's appearance reminded me of. He looked exactly like an educated young master who was actually a fox. After he ate his fill, he lay down on my bed. For a brief moment, I almost suspected he was going to start licking a big, non-existent foxtail. Shenju, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your past, he requested. My past? There's really nothing worth telling about me. My name is Li Shenju. I can't remember anything before I was 5. When I was 5 years old, a plague broke out in Li family village. My parents passed away, and I was the only one left. But because I had a high fever for many days, my brain was almost burned to ashes. My neighbors fed me, and that's how I managed to grow up to 6 or 7 years old. Farmers are kind-hearted, and country kids tend to grow up fast. I gathered firewood, collected little scraps, and even picked up 2 sick chickens along the way. On a rainy autumn day when I was 7 years old, I hugged those 2 sick chickens to my chest, waiting to see if anyone would come and claim them. Nobody wanted sick chickens because they could spread disease, so people just told me, "You just take them." Later, those 2 chickens actually recovered. They laid eggs, and those eggs hatched into more chicks. Heaven really doesn't even let a blind sparrow starve. As you can see, even though Shenju is a bit clumsy, she's exceptionally good at raising animals. When other people's chickens wouldn't even lay eggs, Li Shenju's chickens were laying double-yolked ones. Wait. When I was 12, I saw some kids throwing stones at Da Huang. "Do you have nobody too?" I asked him. Da Huang just wagged his little tail and whimpered. After Da Huang arrived, I finally had my very first family member. Then when I was 14, I picked up Xiaoqing. His clothes were torn and tattered, and he was unconscious, holding tightly onto a large, rusty sword in his arms. I waited around all day, but not a single person came to say they didn't want this anymore. Village head Li told me, "You can't just take it unless someone explicitly says they don't want it anymore. Otherwise, it's stealing." So when the sun went down, I sneaked a look around and, using the cover of the dark night, stole Xiaoqing and brought him home. Resting my chin on my hands, I looked him up and down and couldn't help but feel, what a waste! What a huge waste! Such a fine, grown man. And nobody wanted him. I started counting on my little fingers. In the past, there were 3 people in our house: my dad, my mom, and me. Village head Li once said that it takes 3 people to make a home. Now I had Da Huang, and I had this living, breathing man. So he could be the dad, I could be the mom, and Da Huang could be Shenju. Li Shenju finally had a home again, but Xiaoqing was too severely injured. I cooked porridge, made chicken soup, and fed him slowly, spoon by spoon. On the 3rd day, he finally opened his eyes. The very first thing he did was grab his sword, point it at me, and look around cautiously. "Where is this? Who are you?" he demanded. Only later did I find out that he was a flying sword cultivator from the Linchin Peak who had fallen into the mortal realm because his attempt to ascend as a god had failed. No wonder. There was a massive thunderstorm with lightning not long ago. That must have been the cultivators from Linchin Peak facing their heavenly tribulation. The cold man of few words, Xiaoqing, ended up staying at my house for the next 5 years, waiting to prove his path to ascend to heaven. "Shenju, aren't you going to make your little child groom work?" people would ask. I'd shake my head, wiping my sweat, and reply, "He's not a farmer. He'll get really tired if he works. It's not right for him to just live and eat for free. At least make him chop some firewood, girl," they'd say. Shenju was so foolish that she treated a mere rock like a precious gem. You guys have never seen him chop wood. He can read and write," I defended him. Since he was an educated scholar, he'd surely help me with the accounts. "Don't worry about anything, Auntie," I told her. That was the very first time I had ever lied. Xiaoqing wasn't going to help me chop wood, nor was he going to help me with my accounts. The only reason he stayed here was that Li family village had thick, abundant spiritual energy. Cultivating here was twice as effective. I placed a bowl of steamed egg in front of Xiaoqing and looked at him with adoring eyes. "You've been here for 5 whole years now. Can't we just spend the rest of our lives together?" I asked. He looked at me coldly and said, "I must return to the spirit array. When I do, I will repay everything I owe you." "You don't owe me anything. If it's convenient, just help me keep my accounts. I'm not good at math, so I always get cheated," I pleaded. He retorted, "You're stupid. Why do they only cheat you and not others?" "That's right. Why do they only cheat me and not others?" I thought about it all night but couldn't find an answer. Xiaoqing didn't hate me specifically. He just hated anything stupid and useless. Because in the third year, when his junior martial sister Xu Yu arrived at our door, I realized that Xiaoqing actually knew how to smile. Seeing Xu Yu affectionately clinging to Xiaoqing's arm, I honestly didn't feel sad. I calculated that there were now 3 people in the house. Just like village head Li said, this was a home. Since Da Huang couldn't be Li Shenju anymore, he'd just have to stay as Da Huang. When I told them I hoped the 3 of us could become a family and live happily together in Li Family Village, Xu Yu first stared at me in shock with her beautiful big round eyes, and then burst into laughter until she cried. Senior brother! This little village girl actually wants to be your wife. Master once said that your mortal love trial would be much harder than others. I was worried for so long. Other people's love trials involved princesses or noble ladies spanning across 3 lifetimes. Why would a top sword cultivator like you... Before she could finish, Xiaoqing cut her off. She is not my love trial. I didn't really understand what a love trial was, but I could guess that Xu Yu was someone special to him. Xu Yu was not only beautiful, but also very capable. Out of curiosity, she followed me to the market once. She just stood there by the stall, and the eggs that would normally take me all day to sell were completely sold out in a single morning. Forget about cheating her, people didn't even dare to bargain. They forcefully stuffed so many snacks and fragrance sachets into her pockets that she just kept giggling. When we came back, I was the one carrying the empty baskets, but my heart felt so heavy. I felt like Xiaoqing was right again. Otherwise, why didn't they cheat Xu Yu, but only ever cheated me? Senior brother, we can't just stay like this. How about we fake a marriage to deceive heaven? Otherwise, in 2 more years, you won't be able to survive the lightning tribulation. When you ascend and become a god, just give her whatever gold and silver she wants, Xu Yu suggested. Although Xiaoqing was reluctant, he had no other choice. A short while later, I happily got some red fabric and sewed a set of clothes for Xiaoqing and a bridal veil for myself. After bowing to heaven and earth, we were officially considered married. When Xiaoqing practiced his sword arts, I wanted to practice alongside him because I didn't want to be a burden. Watching him teach Xu Yu, I tried learning how to control my breathing and focus my spirit. I tried to make rice grains fly like a sword spell, but my hand slipped and I knocked over the chicken feed bowl. The bowl hit the ground and spun around with a loud clatter. I rushed over to pick it up, but tripped and fell. As I was dusting the dirt off my clothes, I heard Xu Yu's laughter again and saw Xiaoqing's dark, irritated face. Shenju is so pitiful, she can't even make me the slightest bit jealous, Xu Yu teased. Xiaoqing gave me a cold glare. He didn't call me stupid like he usually did, but for some reason, he made me feel incredibly embarrassed. You don't have innate talent. Don't waste your effort for nothing, he told me. But I hadn't completely given up on Xiaoqing yet. I sewed a sword tassel for him and made a little decorative pom-pom. When he said he didn't want it, I threw it all away. I even begged him to come to the market with me to help sell chickens. Since he had a sword, people wouldn't dare bully me if they saw him. Xiaoqing refused. It was only when Xu Yu mentioned that she caught the scent of the Taotie monster at the market last time that he finally came along with me. Because he didn't want others to think we were involved, he walked quite a distance away from me. Hey, Master, isn't that Li Shenju selling chickens over there from your house? People asked him. I don't know her, he replied. On the way back, the moon was incredibly huge and round. I was desperately trying to find something to talk about. I told him that I made 40 cents selling chickens today, but when I saw an old beggar covered in the sores, I gave him 20. He's a scammer. The colors on his body are painted. You got cheated again, he said. How do you know? I asked. It was because Xiaoqing was a cultivator with heavenly vision, but he was too lazy to explain it to me. Oh, well, never mind. It's a good thing he's not actually sick, I said. Xiaoqing froze for a moment and muttered, Stupid. I had heard the words stupid, dumb, and idiotic from Xiaoqing many times before, but none of them had ever hurt my heart as much as this one word did right then. Without saying anything, I quietly slowed my steps. Xiaoqing didn't notice that I wasn't following him, or perhaps he did notice and just wanted to leave me behind. By the time I walked to the edge of the village, crying, it was very late at night. There was no one on the road, only Da Huang, wagging his tail and running toward me down the dirt path. From that day on, I finally understood that no matter how good he was, I didn't want Xiaoqing anymore. But Shen Tongwen placed his little finger against my lips and stopped me. Wrong! He failed to pass his tribulation. He deceived heaven, so heaven deceived him back, he said. Because I was getting sleepy from talking, I rubbed my eyes and didn't bother thinking too deeply about what failing a tribulation meant. The time Shen Tongwen stayed at my house felt like magic. Every single day when I woke up, the firewood was already chopped, the chickens and ducks were fed, and the house was sparkling clean. There wasn't even a speck of dust between the cracks of the floorboards. Even Da Huang was bathed until he was gleaming. Knowing that the people in Li Family Village were kind to me, Shen Tongwen would always go and help whenever he saw someone in need. Wow, this is a real good man. Shenzhou sure is lucky, they would say. Shen Tongwen even had the energy to make a customized account book just for me. He taught me how to read it. Even though he taught me twice, I still didn't quite understand. Shenzhou, do you understand? He asked. I didn't understand, but because I didn't want to be called stupid anymore, I replied, I understand. Shen Tongwen saw right through me, patted my head, and said gently, in the future, when you sell things, I'll stay by your side and keep the accounts for you. It's okay if you don't understand. I'll teach you slowly, and you can learn slowly. During the day, he stopped acting like that seductive demon. He didn't look like a fox at all anymore. Instead, he looked more like a proper, organized teacher from a school. Don't exhaust yourself. I can chop that firewood. Also, feeding the chickens is dirty work. I don't get tired. It just takes a simple spell, he said. Does Shenzhou have any other wishes? Do you want to go sell things together? If anyone bullies you, I'll eat them. I thought for a moment and shook my head. Honestly, I wanted Shen Tongwen to come sell eggs with me, but I was worried he'd feel embarrassed. Shen Tongwen was so considerate, I didn't want to put him in a difficult position. Then let's go to the market, buy some fabric, and make Shenzhou a new set of clothes, he said. Shen Tongwen was so incredibly handsome that all the young women on the street were staring at him, whispering about which family's young master he was and whether he was married. A good man like him would definitely be noticed by those beautiful girls one day. Right at that moment, Shen Tongwen grabbed my hand and announced that he was already taken, that he was the man of Li Shenzhou's house. I don't know why, but when Shen Tongwen said that, my heart felt so full. I even dared to walk with my head held high. Shen Tongwen had a lot of money. He pulled me into a silk shop. The whole place was filled with beautiful silk fabrics, so much so that I didn't even dare to look. Shen Tongwen, I can't afford this, I said, but he gave me a reassuring wink and replied, your husband can afford it. Shen Tongwen paid 10 silver pieces. Then he ordered 2 sets of red clothes to be tailored, just like the ones gods wear, and said we would wear them on our wedding day. This was my first time wearing silk. It felt like cool spring water flowing over my body, incredibly comfortable. Shen Tongwen pulled me through the market and bought me a lot of cosmetics and jewelry too. Only when I looked at myself in the mirror did I realize that I was already a 19-year-old woman. From noon until dusk, Shen Tongwen also bought 2 jars of good wine. This wine is good. When we get married, we'll buy good wine like this, he said. It was my first time drinking wine in my entire life. Even though Shen Tongwen could eat a lot, his alcohol tolerance was low, even worse than mine. Shenzhou, are you happy? Are you satisfied? What else do you want? He asked. I replied that I didn't want anything else, that this was already wonderful enough. Shen Tongwen's eyes were hazy from drinking. He proudly tilted his chin up and said, this is nothing yet. Even if you want wealth and high status, I can make it happen. I was biting my chopsticks. Even though I didn't quite understand, I admired Shen Tongwen so much. I thought my husband was truly amazing. He leaned in close, staring at me under the moonlight, and asked, then, will you let me eat your heart? Okay? I immediately replied, yes, which made Shen Tongwen look sad again. You're so silly, Shenzhou. Do you even know what I mean? Of course I knew. I might be a little dumb, but I wasn't that much of a fool. I knew Shen Tongwen wasn't a human. He was a demon who ate human hearts to gain power. But so what? No one had ever treated me this well before. He lightly bit my cheek, let out a sigh, and murmured, you're too easy to trick. It's almost pitiful. Shen Tongwen and I were about to get married. Unlike with Xiaoqing, we weren't sneaking around. Shen Tongwen's handwriting was so beautiful. He sent out wedding invitations to everyone in Li family village. Auntie Zhao, on the day Shenju gets married, you have to sit at the main table, he told her. Shen Tongwen was so crafty. He cut out red double happiness symbols and even went to paste one on Da Huang's little doghouse. Shen Tongwen was also very thoughtful. Worried that the people from the wine shop might be careless, he rented an ox cart with me to transport the wine back ourselves. The autumn weather was comfortable and cool. The cart moved slowly, but we were in no rush. Shen Tongwen picked a little yellow flower and tucked it behind my ear. The clinking sound of the wine jars on the cart was like a song. Shen Tongwen was chewing on a blade of grass, resting his head on his hands, and gazing up at the little birds in the sky. Shenju, I'm suddenly so happy. Being an ordinary mortal isn't bad at all, he said. On the wedding day, everyone who showed up were the benefactors of Li Shenju. Da Huang was happily barking too. Now that Shenju has a home, her parents can finally rest in peace. Let's not talk about that on such a happy day. Getting such a handsome husband, Shenju is truly a lucky fool, Auntie Lu said, looking at Shen Tongwen and smiling non-stop. Shen Tongwen gently squeezed my hand under the sleeves of his robes. Before we could even finish bowing to heaven and earth and stand back up, a sword strike smashed our wedding banquet to pieces. When I turned around, I saw Xiaoqing's robes fluttering in the wind. All the guests scrambled and fled for their lives. When he saw me in my wedding dress, Xiaoqing truly froze for a moment. Li Shenju, do you really want to marry a demon? He's lying to you. His kindness is just a trick, he said. Xiaoqing took out an artifact from Lin Chen Peak. When that little golden pouch appeared in front of Shen Tongwen, he couldn't even maintain his human form on half of his face anymore. Shen Tongwen was forced to sit pitifully amidst the ruined mess. Half of his face was human, and the other half had turned into a giant beast. His gentle face was no longer that of a warm husband, but a deformed creature, obviously a monstrous stranger, just like the demon's storytellers talked about. He is the Taotie monster who causes disasters. 3 years ago, he was injured by my master's sword. To recover his powers, he wants to eat human hearts, Shiyu chimed in. So what? I replied. Because this wasn't the reaction they expected. Xiaoqing was stunned. My tears finally couldn't be held back anymore and just streamed down continuously. That same Xiaoqing who hated and looked down on me actually reached out his hand to wipe my tears. You really are a little fool. He wants to eat your heart. He's acting nice to you just to harm you, he said. I fiercely wiped my tears away with my sleeve, stood in front of Shen Tongwen, and shielded him. He is my husband. If you want to kill him, you have to kill me first. Shenju, don't be stubborn. Don't be fooled by outward appearances. Don't you want a husband? Xiaoqing pleaded. As long as I kill him, Master will allow me to live a mortal lifetime together with you in the human world, Xiaoqing said. But I didn't want him. I ignored Xiaoqing, took out my handkerchief, and wiped the blood off Shen Tongwen's forehead. Shen Tongwen used all his strength to raise his human hand and wiped a tear from my face. Shenju, don't cry. It doesn't hurt. Wanting to put my mind at ease, Shen Tongwen used the very last bit of his spiritual energy to change back into his human form. Now he would never be able to use demon spells again. He had become a half-cripple. Do you still want to marry this kind of trash? Xiaoqing asked. Xiaoqing was right. Now Shen Tongwen had no magic left. He used to be able to fix a mess like this with just a snap of his fingers. Paying no attention to Xiaoqing, I knelt down and slowly started picking up the pieces of shattered porcelain plates. Shen Tongwen also stood up and helped me clean up. Even without magic, I still have this much strength left, he said. Da Huang crouched by Shen Tongwen's feet, keeping a wary eye on Xiaoqing. Shenju, are you coveting the illusions he created? That silk and good wine are just spells to deceive your heart. Now that he has no magic, he's just a useless cripple, Xiaoqing said. How hilarious, Xiaoqing. You've always looked down on me. You thought I was just a vain mortal, coveting your divine looks and wanting to use your power, didn't you? Xiaoqing, all you know is that I'm stupid, and because I'm a little fool, I have no divine talent. But I do have a mortal heart that wants to protect. Ordinary mortals don't understand the grand justice of gods. All we know is that husband and wife must protect each other. Xiaoqing, If you want to kill him, kill me first. Gods can kill demons, but they cannot kill ordinary mortals. Because I was shielding Shen Tongwen, Xiaoqing couldn't find an opening to attack. Now unable to use spells, Shen Tongwen had become an ordinary human. To make a living, we had to get up very early to clean the chicken coop and then walk a long way to the market to sell our goods. Sunrise to sunset, an ordinary mortal's life just repeated like this. Even without magic, Shen Tongwen could still read and keep the accounts. When there were no customers, he would patiently teach me. Well, well, I heard Shinju got married, a voice rang out. I looked up, and it was Jiangxi, the guy who scammed me out of my egg money before. I defensively guarded my coin purse, and Shen Tongwen. Don't worry, girl, are these eggs for sale? He asked. His imposing presence was no small matter. When I said I wasn't selling, he replied, Come on, let's settle a score. Doing business with me is a fair trade. You're just a fool who couldn't remember the numbers, and you accuse me of cheating you. My wife is kind-hearted and doesn't want to argue with a brute like you. If you don't know how to do math, I know a bit of fighting myself, Shen Tongwen chimed in. The truth was, Jiang Shi proved to be much better at fighting. Shen Tongwen lost the fight, and I lost a basket of eggs as compensation. By the time we were on our way back, it was quite late. The day I get my magic back, I'm going to rip out his heart and lungs and eat them, Shen Tongwen cursed roughly as he limped along, though he looked incredibly embarrassed. I'm sorry, Shenju. I wanted to stand in front and protect you. I thought I could beat him, he said. For some reason, I just felt sad that Shen Tongwen had gotten beaten up so badly, and I didn't care about the eggs at all anymore. Honestly, as long as I had someone by my side to keep me company, losing eggs or being a fool wasn't all that sad anymore. I've lived for over 100 years. Even though that's still young for a Taotie monster, I've never lost a single fight, he claimed. He was lying. I vividly remembered him losing to Xiaoqing and Xiaoqing's master. Shenju. Even though I got beaten up, I feel like being an ordinary mortal isn't so bad. Look at Jiangxi. So what if he won? He doesn't even have a wife to protect him. He's pitiful, he added. Da Huang was waiting for us from afar at the edge of the village. Da Huang, stop biting. For no apparent reason, we looked at each other and couldn't stop laughing. At this moment, Taoties and gods were nothing more than things out of myths. We were simply an ordinary married couple in this world, helping and supporting each other. The next morning, there was a man at the door. It was Xiaoqing, carrying the basket of eggs. Your eggs. I got them back for you, he said. Thank you, but I don't want them anymore, I replied. Didn't you care about this very much, he asked. Oh, he had known all along. He knew that getting cheated out of my egg money was always on my mind. I figured he probably just said one word to Jiang Shi, and the man respectfully returned the eggs. Things that I had begged and pleaded for, but couldn't get, were just too easy for him. Xiaoqing, no matter what you do, I will not hand Shen Tongwen over to you, I told him. But he is lying to you. I'm not trying to make a deal for Shen Tongwen. Shen Tongwen is one thing, but you are my love trial. From you, I have seen the love of a pure heart, and I want to repay this love to you. We should live one lifetime together as husband and wife. Chopping wood, feeding chickens, going to the market with you. Whatever he can do, I can do too, and I can do it even better. Don't you think so? He said. He realized his feelings way too late. But so what? During those 5 years, I was never jealous of his coldness, nor was I angry that he looked down on me. It was true that I saved him, and it was true that I followed him for 5 whole years. Xiaoqing. I didn't want to be a fool either. I wanted to be beautiful and talented like you too. You asked me that day, didn't you? Why they only cheat me and not others? Now I found the answer. In this world, there are ordinary people, and there are smart people. If someone is smart, someone else has to be the fool. Shen Tongwen is good to me, so I am happy to be a fool, and I am willing to be deceived by him. Finally realizing that he owed me an apology, he murmured, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said those words to you back then. It's fine. You saved Da Huang. You don't owe me anything anymore. I didn't want to hate him anymore. It was just too exhausting. A winter passed, and a beautiful spring filled with peach blossoms all over the village had arrived. A school opened in the village. Shen Tongwen actually became a teacher. Xiaoqing also stayed in Li family village and opened a small, free clinic to treat people's illnesses for free. Xu Yu came to persuade him to leave the village a few times, but she didn't succeed. I need to stay here to question my own heart, to find my path, and to let go of my pride and arrogance. I only just now understand why my master wanted me to come here, he explained. While the little green peaches were still growing on the branches, Shentong Wen and I held our wedding once again. The guests who came were still a bit scared looking at Xiaoqing nearby. He was wearing simple clothes and shoes, so on the surface, he didn't look like a cultivator at all anymore. So many guests came to the wedding, even Jiang Shu showed up. He dropped off 2 chickens and looked incredibly embarrassed to go in and sit down. There are seats available. A guest is a guest. Uncle Jiang. Please come in and have a seat, I told him. Then, an old beggar covered in sores also arrived and dropped off 20 cents as a wedding gift. I thought about it carefully. He looked somewhat familiar, but I couldn't remember who this old man was. However, Xiaoqing was stunned. Shenju! Oh, Shenju! That old man just flicked his sleeves and flew away into the sky. After greeting and entertaining the guests all day, things finally quieted down at night. Exhausted from the long day, Da Huang's little tail must have been sore from wagging so much. He lay quietly in his little bed and fell fast asleep. The candlelight in the room felt so warm. Only Shentong Wen and I were left beside each other. Shentong Wen was wearing his red outfit. He didn't look like a calm teacher at all, but rather like a soul-captivating monster once again. The red clothes made his eyes shine so brightly that I couldn't help but stare at him without blinking. Hey, Shen Tong Wen. Have you ever done bad things in the past? I asked. I was so worried that he had done something against heaven and would be struck by lightning. I've never done anything bad. Taotie monsters who kill people and do evil things will surely be punished by heaven. But the smart Taotie tribes learned to trade their wishes to get human hearts. 3 years ago, when I finally turned 100, I thought I could go down to the mortal world and start eating hearts. But I never expected that as soon as I entered the mortal world, I'd get hit by Xiaoqing's master's sword strike. That old man wouldn't let me eat hearts. He said I was stupid. He told me that even if I could transform into a human, I was still just a beast without intelligence. And even after 10,000 years, I still wouldn't understand the Dharma. But I'm so smart. So I wasn't happy and asked him back. He said, when you meet a pure heart that is willing to let you eat it, but you no longer want to eat that heart, only then will you understand. Shentong Wen thought for a moment, and feeling a little scared, he hugged me even tighter. Thank goodness. I didn't eat people, otherwise I wouldn't be able to eat the sweet flatbreads Shenju cooks, he said. I thought about it. Shentong Wen was already 100 years old then. He could live for thousands of years more. Since he loves eating so much, what would he do during those thousands of years when nobody was around to make flatbreads for him? Then, what will you do when I grow old and die? I asked him. I've already thought about that. I will wait another 100 years until you become a little old lady. When you die, I will eat your heart. Then, I will become the most powerful divine beast, the great Taotie King who can summon the wind and rain. The great Taotie King can go wherever he wants. No one can stop him, and no one can hurt him anymore, he proclaimed. I looked at the proudly boasting Shentong Wen with admiring eyes. Then, what will you do after you become the great Taotie King? I asked. The great Taotie King will wait by the Naihei Bridge. He will wait in the mortal world, and no one will dare chase him away, he replied. Then who will young Master Shen be waiting for? I asked again. The young master of Li Shenju's house. Of course, he will only be waiting for Li Shenju, he answered.